An impeached deputy president fighting for political survival. A deputy president-elect yet to assume office as his fate now hangs in the corridors of justice. And a nation whose democracy is in limbo as the question of the reconstitution of IEBC takes a center stage. This is the aftermath of the Mwengi Mutuse motion against impeached deputy president Rigathi Gachagua. You're watching K24 Evening Edition with me, Brian Amwai. But first, top stories tonight. On Evening Edition tonight, the legal battle by impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to save his political career and reputation continues at the Milimani Law Courts.
The Adani Group are investing in the transmission line. Their money, 95 billion. We would have otherwise gone to borrow that money, burden the people of Kenya.
President Ruto defends the controversial 95 billion shillings deal between K24 and Adani Energy Solutions, maintaining that it will lead to reduced electricity prices in the country.
Sisi tunamwambia Inspector General wa polisi pamoja na idara ya ujasusi na pamoja idara ya uchunguzi watupatie jibu haraka iwezekanavyo. Also tonight, business paralyzed in Eastleigh as protesting residents demand justice following the murder of 3 family members. And preparations for transition to grade 9 in shambles as students face a shortage of classrooms despite promises of 16,000 new classrooms by January 2025. All right, welcome to the program. Remember, you can be part of this program by engaging us on our socials. At Amwai Brian, that is on X at K24 across social media platforms. We'll be sampling your feedback as we continue with the program tonight. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Clement Muli. Now let's begin. Residents and business owners in Eastleigh are urging the government to expedite investigations into the killings of 3 women whose bodies were mutilated and dumped in various locations. Now, this plea follows a peaceful gathering that escalated into chaos, resulting in business activities being paralyzed for much of the day. Alan Owino has the details.
Footage captured 2 women, now identified as Amina Abdi Rashid and Nusuiba Dahir, waiting for what appears to be a taxi to find their mother, who had left earlier for medical treatment. This was the last sighting of them alive. Large crowds gathered, blocking major roads in and out of Eastleigh as residents, along with Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna and Area Member of Parliament Yusuf Hassan, united in their demand for justice. Shops in Eastleigh remain closed as residents unite to demand justice for Waris Daud, Amina Abdi Rashid and Nusuiba Dahir. All 3 were brutally murdered under unclear circumstances. We continue to call on the DCI to ensure the perpetrators are brought to book, said Sifuna. According to Hussein Abdi, a relative of the deceased, this is not an isolated incident but part of a disturbing trend in Eastleigh. He questioned why such cases have become more frequent compared to previous administrations.
Akiwa mwili yote alikatokatoa ni familia yangu. Sasa walikuwa msichana alitoka hapa Eastleigh kuelekea mama mgonjwa. Mtu alipigia msichana simu, aliambia mama yako ni mgonjwa sana. Sasa huyo mtu ako kwa gari already. Ameambia mama yako ni mgonjwa sana. Sasa mgonjwa amezidi sasa. Msichana amekimbilia sasa, na nafikiri ni kweli. Kukimbia hivi amekwenda hivi mpaka sasa msichana hatujaona. Na yule amepigia simu yake hana haja, amepiga simu ya mama. Tunataka serikali hii mambo wanajua sana, si atajui, wanajua mzuri sana. Hii yote kitu inakaa hapa ni public camera. Lazima hawa watu wafuatwe. Wale wana shida sasa ilikuwa mengi sana. Watu leo hajafungua biashara yao, watu hawezi lala.
Although the Eastleigh community was in mourning, a section of residents took advantage of the situation and started looting businesses, with operations being paralyzed for the better part of the afternoon.
Watu walikuwa wamegoma kufungua maduka sababu ya kuomboleza kifo cha huyo mama aliyeona na watoto wake. Lakini hao vijana sijui kama wamelipa kuja kufanya fujo na hakuna polisi anaonekana mmoja. Hata sisi wananchi tumeshangaa polisi wa Pangani wanafanya kazi gani?
According to police reports, the bodies of the 3 women were discovered in 3 different locations on Tuesday. The mother's remains were found in Machakos, while one body was located in Bahati and the other in Parklands, Nairobi. Severed hands believed to have been dismembered from one of the victims were later found in South Sea. The DCI has since taken over the investigation. Alan Owino for K24.
All right, now Kenya is set to strengthen its energy infrastructure with new international partnerships, despite ongoing controversies surrounding some foreign investors. Now, President William Ruto has defended deals made with companies like the Adani Group, emphasizing the long-term benefits for the country. We report on the president's latest remarks during the launch of a major power project in Nakuru County.
President William Ruto has reaffirmed that Kenya stands to gain significantly from the power transmission deal between Adani Group Holdings and the Kenya Electricity Transmission Company. Speaking during groundbreaking ceremony of a 35 megawatts power plant in Menengai, Nakuru County, the president emphasized that the Adani Group is in Kenya to stay. He reiterated the government's commitment to securing more international partnerships, which he said are essential for boosting the country's economy.
The Adani Group are investing in the transmission line. Their money, 95 billion. We would have otherwise gone to borrow that money, burden the people of Kenya. We will pay for that transmission line using a wheeling charge that has been negotiated. And it is important for us as a nation to appreciate that a partnership between public and the private sector gives us a win-win outcome.
The president credited the success of the Menengai project to Kishan International's financial backing, urging Kenyans to embrace these partnerships, even as some express concerns over Adani's involvement in the country.
Many people would have expected us as government to borrow money and come and invest in this facility. That is not the right way to go about it, because we do not want to burden the people of Kenya with either additional taxes or additional loans, when the private sector can do it much more efficiently.
Ruto's defense of Adani follows the recent announcement by Energy Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi of a 95 billion Kenyan shillings deal between K24 and Adani Energy Solutions Limited. CS Wandayi echoed the president's sentiment, noting that such investments will expand Kenya's job market and attract more foreign investors into the country's growing energy sector.
This particular power plant by All Power 2022 is going to not only add additional power to the national grid, but is going to go a long way indeed, in terms of creating an opportunity for investors to come into our country. When investors come, ordinarily, of course, we shall have more opportunities for employment of our young people.
Meanwhile, Nakuru Governor Susan Kehika hailed the geothermal project, noting it will improve farming techniques and accelerate the region's progress towards achieving 100% green energy.
The county government of Nakuru is desirous to accelerate green industrial development within the county. It recognizes its rich endowment of arable land for production of food, animals, and forestry products, and has abundant renewable energy resources, including geothermal, wind, and solar, and recognizes the urgent need to prioritize creation of new and sustainable industry-based jobs to leverage on available resources like geothermal energy and untapped potential in agriculture and agribusiness, among other opportunities.
The 35 megawatts power plant will supply energy to areas including Nanyuki, Meru, Nyeri, and surrounding counties. Kenya is also expanding its geothermal operations in Olkaria, Eburu, and Baringo, where over 75 megawatts have already been proven and will soon be added to the national grid. Mombi Wambogo, K24 TV, Nakuru County.
Wonderful.
Now, lawyers allied to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua today put up a spirited fight in a bid to have the three judges recuse themselves for the hearing of the petition challenging his impeachment, one after the other. The Rigathi's legal team raised issues to disqualify members of the bench. According to Gachagua, Justice Mrima cannot preside over the case owing to his close relations with Speaker of the Senate, Amason Kingi. At the same time, the court failed to extend conservatory orders and will make a ruling on Friday afternoon on both issues.
Conservatory orders are constitutional orders. They are aimed at protecting the substratum of the case. It cannot be weaponized against this side. Third, the diary case. What should concern this court is the pertinent fact and the act that recusal happened, and what the Supreme Court said about that recusal. That's all what this court is supposed to consider. My good friend, my senior, Mr. Nyamodi, urged the court to ignore certain electronic material that was presented for the lack of a certificate as required by Section 106. I'll urge the court to take cognizance, number one, of the short timelines, the reflex within which advocates were required to make the returns. In any case, we will endeavor to file the certificate.
There were conservatory orders granted by your brother, Mr. Justice Chacha Mwita, on the 18th of October. But they expire today at midnight. My lords, the purpose of the conservatory orders were to preserve the purpose of the conservatory orders were to preserve May I continue, my lord? The conservatory orders preserve the substratum of the petition and the interlocutory orders application in order for the court to have time to consider
Yes, please.
My lord,
you are listening.
I was waiting for my lord Murima, not Mulema, to preserve the substratum, to accord the court time to hear submissions on the weighty issues of law of the Constitution. So my plea is that you extend those orders because they were to expire tonight.
The court will remember that we also filed an application and a certificate of urgency on the question of conservatory orders. If at all it is now their changed position that the issue as to whether they can be extended or not should be brought before the bench, we are willing, ready, and able to argue it right now.
These are orders that have been granted. They were in force. There is nothing to argue. We have not come to the applications. In fact, there are another 2 applications for conservatory orders. And I assume that the application by the Attorney General, the Senate, and by the National Assembly for the discharge of the conservatory orders, you'll be here together with these other 2 applications.
No.
I am addressing the court, not the bar.
If this court is bad for something, it is bad for everything. Until you have ruled on your own suitability to hear the matter, you cannot address any substance.
You are right, Professor Dithu. We meet you tomorrow at 1 p.m. for the ruling.
Thank you.
All right, from the corridors of justice, we do want to take a break here on Evening Edition. Continue engaging us on our socials at K24 across social media platforms. We'll be sampling your feedback as we continue with the program tonight. We take a break. We will be back in a few.
We asked the children, how many of you brushed this morning?